Welcome to Irresistible You. I'm so excited that you have joined me for this fun episode called Playing in the Discomfort Zone. Reminds me of that song, Highway to the Danger Zone. But it'd be playing in the discomfort zone. Why not? It's uncomfortable for me to sing on camera, but yet I did it. There, I'm playing already. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Karen Seltz, and if you are new to me, there's really only three things that you need to know. The first thing is that it is my mission to support coaches to get their message out there so they can be seen and heard and create that know, like, and trust factor so they can attract more of their aligned clients and actually get paid for it. The second thing is you are safe with me. You're safe to let your guard down. You're safe to take the masks off. You're safe to be exactly as you are without fear of judgment and knowing that I will accept you no matter what. You're safe to fail. You're safe to fall down. You're also safe to succeed. The third thing you need to know is I consider my greatest superpower to be that of the divine mirror. Mirror, like mirror, mirror on the wall. And what I mean by that is I have the ability to see people, to see their gifts, their talents, their hidden desires, and to reflect those back to them until they finally get it for themselves and they can see themselves the way that God sees them. And I love doing that. That's a big part of my intuitive coaching practice. So I'm so grateful that you've joined me here tonight. Let's dive in. The reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I had a situation, I would say like 2-3 weeks ago, where I was in excruciating pain. My gums were infected and I needed a root canal. And I went to the dentist and I rarely ever take anything. And I was taking pain meds and still in a lot of pain. And the dental assistant tapped on my tooth and I said, yeah, it's definitely that one. And then the dentist came in and said, no, it's the one behind that. There's a crack in it. I can see it. And instead of trusting my intuition, I went with the authority figure, the one who is supposed to know. And I wonder how often that you do that in your life. You question your intuition or what you know that you can't explain. And you just go with someone else's opinion, whether it be an authority figure or someone you're in a relationship with, a friend or a spouse or partner. So I had a root canal done on the tooth the dentist recommended, and I was still in excruciating pain. And I called and I said, I want to talk to the dentist. I think they did the wrong tooth. And she blew me off. She said, oh, tell her to give it a few days because a lot of times it still hurts. Well, again, I knew there was something wrong. I've had root canals before, and I knew that usually when I have a root canal, I'm out of pain. I mean, there's a little bit of the residual, anytime you have any dental work done, there's that kind, but not the deep kind that's, causing you to lose sleep at night. So I talked to the dentist. She said, well, I did the obvious tooth. So let me get you a referral to get the right tooth done. And I'm like, what the heck? And I was just kind of almost paralyzed. Like I didn't want confrontation. But I got mad when I left because she didn't accept responsibility or accountability. She didn't say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that we did the wrong one. She didn't offer anything. And the endodontist she referred me to couldn't get me in for 10 days. Now, luckily, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and there is a border town in Mexico 3 hours from me. So I actually drove the next day to Mexico. I made an appointment and I went to an endodontist in Mexico to get this tooth fixed because I'm like, I can't lose another 10 days of my life because I was in so much pain. I was sleeping all the time. So long story longer, when I came back and went back to my dentist, I knew what I wanted to ask for. I wanted her to pay for the tooth I had done, because it was her error. And, I didn't want anything else. I wasn't going to say I would pay for my trip to Mexico because I drove or whatever. So my heart was beating so hard. And I'm used to speaking my mind, I thought, but this was a new edge for me. this was a stretch where I got to stand for what I wanted and do my best to stay in my heart and not be a jerk about it. So here's how it went. I went to the office. I was so nervous. My palms were sweating. My heart hasn't raced that hard in a really long time, but I was so nervous. And when she came in, I said, I have a request. I want to talk about what happened. And my request is that you don't defend or justify what happened because you did the wrong tooth. I don't want you to defend it or justify it because I'll feel attacked. And my request is that you let me finish everything I have to say before you speak. Would that be okay? And she said, yes. So then I told her, I made my case. And she said, basically she had to talk to the office manager who had to talk to corporate. And they called me back and said they'll pay for it. So I was like, even if they hadn't, I was really proud of myself for the way I handled it, that I was able to stay calm and to really go past that edge because I haven't done that clearly. And there's a thing, like we all have these edges. How do you deal with authority? Maybe that's one of yours too. Like the doctor, do you ask the doctor questions or do you just take what they say as gospel? And I'm learning the longer I spend in Dr. Joe Dispenza's community, not to take what the doctor says as gospel. It's a diagnosis. Like if they say something's wrong with you, it's not a prognosis. So you can take the diagnosis. And what I have seen time and time again in Dr. Joe's community is people healing themselves from absolutely everything, from cancer to MS, multiple sclerosis, ALS, like just everything. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I'm really excited because Dr. Joe geeks out on the research. Like he really thinks it's important that people know they don't need drugs. They can manufacture them in here, through meditation. And he teaches them how to do it. But anyways, they got a paper published in a scientific journal on COVID and how when people meditate regularly, COVID does not enter their cells. They expose their blood cells to COVID, a COVID-like virus, and it wouldn't grow there. The cells were completely resistant to it. And I find that fascinating. And I'm so happy. I'm happy for Dr. Joe. I'm happy for Hemal Patel, who's his main chief scientist who does a lot of the research at UCSD, but also for the community and for the world, because for so long, the companies with the money, the pharmaceutical companies, have controlled the narrative. And people keep getting sicker and sicker. And the more drugs they take, the more side effects they experience. And then they give them more drugs for those side effects. And people are taking 20, 30 medications. When this one intervention called meditation can cure, really, I mean, they don't say that, but it works just as well as any drug, if not better, for all of the symptoms, for all of the medical conditions, like 80 of them. So that's my soapbox for that. But I want to talk about stretching outside of your comfort zone. And it's really fascinating. I did transformational leadership for quite some time. I took it as a student, which it's an experiential program. It's 4 months and you're in the trenches. You are stretching outside your comfort zone like nobody's business. And then I coached it for over a year. So I got really good at being outside my comfort zone, so good at it that very few things scared me for a really long time. Like people, I don't know, I would do just about anything. It didn't scare me as long as it wasn't going to harm me or someone else. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So one of my friends was in the program and I was coaching it. And he said, I was talking to him on the phone and I said I was going to go to this place where they have a glass bottom elevator. So it was only 5 floors, but it's terrified me to go on it because you're looking right down at the basement and it was terrifying. He's like, well, I know what your stretch is. So I did it and I videotaped it and it's hysterical. My daughter was with me and I was like screaming. I'm like, I'm on it. Okay, but I guess I got to look down or else why is it stretchy? And so I looked down, I'm like, So, what are the things that scare you? Are you willing to do them in order to stretch and grow? Because just like a rubber band, once you stretch it, it doesn't go back to its original size, shape, color. So, once you start stretching, your comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you, as a person, expand. You have a greater capacity to handle challenges, to handle adversity, to handle difficult things. And one of the things I do on a regular basis is hot yoga in the middle of the summer in Phoenix, where it's already 112. Today it was 112. So it seems like kind of crazy, but when you handle those short bits of stress for a short amount of time, it builds resilience. The body is meant for that. We're just activating our fight, flight, freeze response so much by what's in here that we're living in constant stress. So when we can introduce acute stress or something that's going to, be a short period of time, it's actually really good for us. It builds us as people. It builds our resilience. And I tell you what, when I stretch outside my comfort zone, there is nothing like the feeling that comes afterward. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm like, dang, I can't believe I did that. That's amazing. Good job, Karen. You're a badass. I mean, it's like, instead of, like slumping down, like, I backed down from another challenge. I chickened out. And what are you telling your subconscious mind? Or what is your subconscious mind? What are the messages it's receiving? Well, I'm not important. I'm not brave. I'm not courageous. Other people could do these things, but I can't. And the more we shy away from those things, the smaller we become and the more constricted and the smaller life that we get. And I am here to help people to unleash themselves, to stop following the rules of society. And these rules, a lot of times, are made up. Like we made them up. Like if if we didn't make them up, everyone would adhere to the same ones, right? Like don't get your dress dirty. Good girls don't get dirty, or they don't play with the boys, or whatever. I mean, there's all these silly things, but we internalize them at such a young age that we can't differentiate that we made that up. We think it's true, think it's a fact, but it's not. So I'm telling you, start noticing where your edges are. Where are those places that are like, oh, that's so uncomfortable. I could never do that. Or I don't want to do that. That's one of the things I used to tell myself. I don't want to do. I could do that. I just choose not to. And, within reason. I'm not suggesting you go on a wooden roller coaster. I messed up my back going on a wooden roller coaster recently, which is kind of hilarious because, I'm 55. But I thought, well, I hurt my back on it and I was with my 17-year-old daughter. I'm like, well, I'm going to go again. Maybe it'll put it back. It didn't work. Didn't mess it up any worse, I don't think. And speaking of Dr. Joe Dispenza, I healed that with meditation alone. I didn't go to a massage therapist, didn't go to a chiropractor. I healed it with meditation. It's perfectly fine. And I'm 55. So I'm saying this stuff works, man. Try it. It's amazing. And look for the friends in your life that will challenge you, the ones that will call you on your BS stories or that will push you beyond your comfort zone or beyond where you want to go, that are interested in your growth. They're not interested in co-signing your BS stories that are going to keep you small and stuck. Find them and challenge each other, challenge one another if there's a group of you, because it's super fun. If you have somebody who is cheering you on and going to hold your feet to the fire, like, you still didn't do this thing, you said you would do it. By when will you do this? That is a good friend right there. So I challenge you to do something that scares you. And there was a quote like, do something that scares you every single day. And if you haven't seen the TED Talk by Jia Zheng, I'll put it in the show notes. Look it up. It's called The 100 Days what I learned from the 100 Days of Rejection Challenge. And it's so fantastic. I love it so much. And he talks about, there was a card game from Canada where it had these challenges or dares. And every day he did one and he filmed himself. So day one, he went up to a security guard that he didn't know and said, "Hey, can I borrow $100?" And the guy's like, "No." And he like ran away. And the security guard's like, "Well, wait, what do you need it for?" But he was so scared that he just ran. But he was determined he was going to get over his fear of rejection. So when he watched the footage, he's like, "Oh my gosh, there was an opportunity there." And I don't know if you've ever heard the study, but when you give someone a reason, even if it's a stupid reason, like the study they did was somebody asked if they could cut in line at a copy shop making copies, photocopies. And if they gave a reason, even if the reason was as stupid as because I need to make copies, if they said the word because, people were 40% more likely to let them do the thing, let them take cuts because I need to make copies. But when you give someone a reason, they're more likely to support you. So he made this Zhang, back to the 100 Days of Rejection guy. He made an agreement with himself that he wouldn't run away. He would talk it through. Oh, because I just want to borrow $100. I don't know, it could be anything, right? But one of the things, and this woman became famous, he went to Krispy Kreme donuts and he asked a woman to make the Olympic rings and, with all the colors and everything. She's like, "Well, what is that?" And he showed her a picture and she actually made them. She made them and she became famous. Like her video went viral of her. That's so sweet. But he's like, you would be surprised. Like he would ask ridiculous things like, "Can I play soccer in your backyard?" And some people would say yes. He asked one woman if he could he had a beautiful plant, if he could plant it in her yard. She said, no. He's like, "May I ask why not?" She said, "Yeah, my dog would dig it up. But you know what? My neighbor down the street loves plants. Go talk to Mildred," or whatever. So he learned a ton. And he had an app for a while before COVID called Dare Me. I don't know if it's around anymore. It wasn't right after COVID. And I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite dares on there is ask a stranger to race. Now, I've said my age 20 times. So sometimes, if I'm feeling kind of like lame, like stuck in a rut, I will go to like an outdoor shopping mall or something, and I just pick random people and say, "Hey, do you want to race?" And they're like, "What? Do I want to what?" Like, it's such a bizarre question. But even the question makes me laugh so hard. This one guy, I was on a double date and we went to dinner and we were going to go to a movie. And I'm like, I'm going to go ask someone to race. So I asked this guy and he was with a friend and he's like, "Oh yeah." So he's like, "Here, hold my stuff." So he hands all his stuff to his friend. And he was like probably in his 20s and athletic. And he like was so fast. But then, we got to the end and I turned around and ran back and I'm like, "I win." But he was laughing, and it brings levity to everyone around when you're willing to play. So how can you play? Like maybe you ask a stranger to dance in the supermarket. I don't know, something weird. I'm always dancing in the supermarket because, I don't care. I like to have fun. It's one of my values. So, so I like to have fun and I don't care if I look stupid, but look at what my edge was, the thing with the dentist. So we all have the things that still scare us. My invitation is to look for those. And when you notice them, breathe into it and ask yourself, like, what's coming up for me? What am I afraid is going to happen if I do this? And for me, I was afraid I was going to get rejected and then I was going to lose my temper and, throw a tantrum or feel like I didn't matter. That's usually like underlying a lot of my things is like, I don't want to feel like I don't matter because that's how I felt in childhood. And, it still stings. So find yours. Like, what are those things that really hurt? Many, many years ago, I was in 12-step and I used to do or have my sponsees, the people I sponsor, do a fear inventory. And it was really very fascinating. one woman said, I'm afraid of being unattractive. And then the next one was, I'm afraid of being attractive. And I would have them keep going. I'm afraid of being attractive because that would mean blank. And then that would mean blank. And that would mean blank, until it boiled down to like 2 core fears. And mine were that I'm unlovable and that I'm unworthy. And everybody has 2 that are slightly different, but everybody has 2 that I've ever met. So that could also be an interesting exercise for you to do, like do a fear inventory. Like, what are the things that you're really afraid of? I probably didn't put confronting authority on my list because it wasn't top of mind until a few weeks ago. But then what did they boil down to? What would that mean about you? Like if you were attractive, what would it mean? Well, that blah, 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 but it doesn't matter. So it could even be like, I'm afraid of heights. Okay, what would that mean? Or what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of there? But go deep with it until you come to those 2 core things. And I bet you almost every fear that you have is rooted in those. And when you come up to it, you'll be like, oh, there you are again. And then you can make friends with it. It's like you don't have to fear it because they're crap. I mean, we know that logically that that's crap. There's not any possible way that could be true about you. It's just not possible that I could be unlovable. Yep, Karen, you're the only one on the whole planet that's unlovable. You're the only one that's unworthy. No, same with you. Like, it's just not possible. Like, God doesn't create crap. So my invitation is to do that. Do the fear inventory, see what comes up. I would love it if you share with me what comes up for you. And also, what are you stretching into? What discomfort zone activity are you willing to do this week, today, tomorrow? What are you going to do? Let me know. Send me a message, comment on this. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and share if you feel led. Thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My name is Karen Seltz, and it has been my pleasure to be with you. Mwah. Have a great week.